you. Thank you. Residential life. So as part of Pre-Health Application Week, we have several programs coming up. Some have happened already, some will still be coming up. So keep an eye out for programs all week about pre-health related topics, application processes, your opportunity to hear from admissions officers themselves for what they're looking for in your application. This is all leading up to our pre-health health school fair this Friday, where you will get to meet with some of these representatives that you'll be meeting. So for this fair, you will need to register for one-on-one slots with admissions reps. We have over 50 being represented at our fair this Friday. You'll be able to ask in-depth questions, learn a little bit more about their programs, compare which ones you might be interested in. And there are also test prep discounts being raffled off in specific booths, Blueprint and we believe Princeton Review. We will get back to you on that one, but definitely, take advantage of this opportunity, especially as applications are starting to come up. Get your questions answered and have a time to introduce yourself in person, as closely to in person as you can. So we will put in the chat a link to where you can access all of this. Today's program will also be recorded, so we will link to where you can find that as well. During today's program, we will be having a moderated panel with our representatives, and then there will be an opportunity for an open Q&A where students are more than welcome to ask questions. Please submit your questions in the chat publicly, and they will be answered once it's time. So without further ado, I would like to present our moderators for the day, our student representatives, our student org representatives from SPOT.
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan. I am the co-internal vice president for UCLA Society for Physical and Occupational Therapy Club. We are the only physical and occupational therapy club on campus, and slowly we've been dabbling in speech language pathology as well. So that's really exciting, and we're here today to help you with moderating this little panel. And just to introduce a little bit more about SPOT, I don't know if we can get to the next slide. Yeah, we have 3 pillars here for our club: informational guidance, hands-on experience, and grad school readiness. So just to touch a little bit about each, informational guidance, we're really focused on giving our students a lot of information and guidance moving forward in their careers so they can have a better understanding of the fields that they want to get into. We invite a lot of professionals to our club meetings and go on field trips to different universities. Unfortunately, those we had to stop this year, but hopefully we'll get back on that soon. So if you're interested in learning more about physical or occupational therapy or speech language pathology, please feel free to come check our club out.
Hi everyone, I'm also from SPOT. I'm the community outreach chair, and in SPOT we also do hands-on experience. So SPOT is very connected to the OT and PT clinics in the LA area. So we want our members to get shadowing experience. So if they ever need shadowing experience and referrals, then we will reach out to the PT clinics and OT clinics that we're affiliated with, as well as grad school readiness, connecting our members with the Career Center at UCLA for resume and GRE workshops, as well as getting experts to come talk to our students.
Great, and so today we have a great group of panelists here to talk to you from 2 different schools. We have Jaziel Camacho, Dr. Molly O'Rourke, and Dr. Heather Thomas from the Western University of Health Sciences. And if they would like to quickly introduce their school, maybe a little bit about their mission and values and what makes their school unique, we'd love that.
Thank you, Jordan. Hi, everyone. I'm Giselle. I'm the University Recruiter Liaison to the College of Health Sciences, and that encompasses our PT programs, both at our California campus and our Oregon campus. And then we have a brand new OT program that we're excited to roll out this year. So we have Dr. Molly O'Rourke with us. She's going to be a faculty member for our Oregon campus, and then Dr. Heather Thomas for the OTD program. And then I also have a colleague of mine who is a recruiter, Raquel. She's on the line as well. and we're really excited to be here. Thank you for having us. I will turn it over to just Dr. O'Rourke to start with the introduction.
Thanks, Giselle. So my name is Dr. Molly O'Rourke. I'm a faculty member and the clinic manager for our physical therapy program in Oregon. So that's a developing physical therapy program. Our first cohort starts July 6th of this year. So we're very excited. Our mission that we have for this program is to educate humanistic healthcare providers that will serve rural, vulnerable, and underserved populations. So that's really, we're embracing that mission and vision and building that into our curriculum. So we're really excited about some of the things that we're doing with our program, and I look forward to answering all of your questions and having a good conversation about that. So thanks again for having us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Heather Thomas. I am the program director and chair of the new occupational therapy doctorate program that's starting up in Oregon. It is starting July of 2022, so not this July, but next July. We are starting to accept applications this July. It will be a 3-year program. And much like the PT program, our vision and mission is to help develop leaders and compassionate and humanistic practitioners that are going to be out serving underserved areas. One of the unique aspects of our OTD program is there's going to be a big focus on wellness and lifestyle medicine. So if that's something that you're interested in, then might be a good fit. So anyway, but thank you again for inviting all of us. Look forward to talking to you more about our program.
Thank you for that introduction. On our panel, we also have a representative from Rocky Mountain University of Health Professions, PT and OT. We have Jeff Tolley. If you could introduce the school mission, values, and what makes the program unique.
Yeah, I'd love to. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jeff Tolley. I am the recruitment manager here at Rocky Mountain University. We are located in Utah, and so really, literally right at the base of the Rocky Mountains. So there's a lot of outdoorsy things to do while you're here. I mostly work with our physical therapy program, and then our entry-level occupational therapy program is similarly looking to get started here pretty soon. So we're thinking that it'll probably be late 2022, early 2023 of when that will get started. And so if you're a couple years out, this might work out perfectly. So we definitely want to keep in connection with you. So our mission, our values are really just, I mean, we have 6 core values that are all based on being authentic, being, inclusive, being trustworthy, that kind of stuff. We're looking for someone that fits into a small, tight-knit family-like culture. We are a graduate healthcare university, and all we focus on is graduate healthcare programs. So we don't have any undergrads, and your faculty aren't split attention between several different levels. It is one level between just graduate, and everyone at the university is healthcare as well. But yeah, I am looking forward to answering all of your questions and tell you a little bit more about what's unique about our program. So.
All right, thank you so much, Jeff. Let's jump right into our first question. We've got a couple here just to be moderated, but this is for all panelists, and I think a pressing one for most students. Who would be a strong candidate, and what qualities are you looking for in a student?
I can go first if we need, since I'm already unmuted. So one unique thing about our program is we are accelerated. So we are 8 semesters instead of the typical 9. So strong candidates for our program are people that, have a good academic standard. I guess someone that can run with the pace. I mean, the first couple semesters are a little bit busier, but we have 100% pass rate on that NPT exam, and everybody seems to be doing it. So the strong candidates, though, are someone that feels comfortable with a slightly faster pace. But then also on top of that is someone that is willing to work in a team environment, someone that has the experience, observation hours with the physical therapy world. And ultimately, the passion is what we look for in an interview. So just kind of all around the board, we definitely look at the holistic approach, but those prereqs are something that we definitely want to see we do well in as well.
I'll jump in and I'll go next. So in regards to the OTD program at Western U, one of the things that we're looking for is students that are interested in looking at the whole person. And so they're very interested in not just how does the human body in regards to muscles and bones and all of that work, but what about the patient's mind and their emotional well-being, how about their sensory system? So really, ideal student would have an interest in psychology, the sciences, but then also have an interest in being creative. I always say that OTs are the MacGyvers of healthcare, right? You guys know MacGyver, right? Right? Like give us a roll of duct tape and a Q-tip, we can make anything, right? And so we're looking for students that are creative and can think outside the box. Pass on to the next person.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and follow Dr. Thomas there. So regarding the physical therapy program for Western and Oregon, we're looking for many of the same things that Dr. Thomas mentioned, because we're aligning very well with the occupational therapy program, and we plan to work very closely together. But additionally, we're really looking for a well-rounded candidate, somebody that has experiences beyond just the classroom. So we're looking at much more than GPA. As an example, we aren't using the GRE for admissions, and that's because the GRE aligns very well with GPA. So we felt like we didn't need to measure that criteria twice. So we're looking at, for someone that's well-rounded, well-spoken, and really interested in passionate about providing patient-centered quality healthcare, especially to rural and underserved and vulnerable populations. So additionally, someone who's interested in serving the community. We include community service in our curriculum in 3 different places, and we're looking for candidates that are interested in that and want to be involved in that as well.
Alrighty, we can go ahead and move on to the next question if there are no more comments. So our next question that I'm sure myself and a lot of other people who are planning to apply soon, what does your admissions process and timeline look like? Who is involved, and are there any changes due to COVID?
I can start us out, and then if Dr. O'Rourke or Dr. Thomas have anything to add. So our admissions process, so we have a COVID exceptions page on our prospective student website, so that'll definitely help you guys kind of navigate the changes that have happened due to COVID. But as Dr. O'Rourke mentioned, we are no longer, or we're not requiring the GRE. And again, just to verify, our California campus and the Oregon campus do have the same requirements. So anything that is said regarding the requirements for our Oregon campus, it'll be the same for our California campus as well. So we no longer have the GRE requirement. We are requiring the Casper assessment test. The timeline, so applications will be opening soon for our campus in California and Oregon in July. And the deadline will more likely be the same for each, closer to November. So November 1 would be like the deadline. We haven't had a hard deadline set, I believe, for Oregon, but for the California campus, it will be November 1, and it more likely will be the same for the Oregon campus. But again, check back with us, please reach out, and we'll definitely answer those questions. So as far as who's involved, our admissions team is awesome. They are going to recalculate your GPA. So if you did poorly in a class and you retook it, they're going to recalculate your GPA from PTCAS. And then the admissions committee, so that more likely includes some of the faculty members, so or a majority, if not all of the faculty members. If you want to add anything, Dr. Thomas or Dr. O'Rourke.
Yeah, I'm going to add in because our OT process is a little bit different. So
Yes.
OT CAS the CAS system opens up for our OT program this July, and that will stay open until March of 2022. But we will be doing rolling admissions, and so you will want to get your application in early. We are also not accepting or requiring the GRE, which is fabulous, but we are using a holistic admissions process. And what that means is that we're looking at applicants as a whole person. We're also looking at your life experiences. We're looking for students who are bringing kind of rich life experiences to the table. And so we're encouraging those that maybe have a lower GPA. Our minimum GPA is 3.0, but let's say you're at a 2.9, still apply. We are looking at, where maybe have you volunteered? Maybe you're the first person in your entire family who's ever gone to college. What are some of the life experiences that you're bringing to the table? So we're kind of looking at everything. Once you have submitted your application into the OT CAS system and everything is in, including your essay and your letters of recommendation, if you meet all the requirements, then you will be called in to do an interview. And we're doing all of our interviews over Zoom. Once you're done with the interview, we ask that you do a writing sample. And what that means is it's a proctored, you get an hour to write an essay. And so you have to kind of just use your brain, no chance to proofread or Google and things like that. And so we're asking for a short writing sample. And yeah, who's involved is the admissions team, but also all of our faculty. So if you get called in for an interview, you'll be interviewed by several of our faculty members and me as well. So yeah, that's our, the COVID question. Yes, this year we're making exceptions for volunteer hours. And that's on our website that gives you some alternatives, and you would have to complete those alternatives in lieu of volunteer hours or shadowing hours.
Yeah, I'll just kind of speak to our program. There's a lot of similarities there. We also are in a rolling admissions basis. So if you're not sure what that means, I explained it pretty well. It's, we review, interview, and accept students throughout the cycle. And we don't necessarily wait until that deadline has passed to then start the process. So there is a benefit of getting that application in earlier, although you don't necessarily want to rush it. You want to make sure your application is good and as best as it can be. Our cycle usually is a little bit longer than most, and that's mostly due to the fact that we are enrolling 2 cohorts every year. So we have one that starts in May and one that starts in the fall, usually either the end of August or the beginning of September, however the calendar falls. And that is because, several people are different. Applicants are graduating at different times. And so this allows people that are graduating late spring to still be able to start PT school with us that fall instead of waiting a whole nother year. So our cycle similarly opens up in July. I think almost every PT school is going to open up at the same time with PT CAS. So make sure you're familiar with that. And then our deadline won't be until the following May, so May 2022 for this next year. However, the closer and closer you get to that deadline, the fewer and fewer spots there are available. But we take the whole time every year just because there's usually a lot of movement. So even if you're in April and you're still hoping to apply, get it in. Who's involved? Very similar. So we have an admissions selection committee that will review applications, and then, when you get offered an interview, you will actually be scheduled to chat one-on-one with one of our faculty, and this will be close to a 45-minute conversational interview. There's some typical interview questions in there, but the good chunk of it is going to be, hey, are we a good fit for each other? Can we see that physical therapy passion? Do you want to accept us? Do we want to accept you? We understand that it's a two-way street. So it's a very conversational interview that says, do we jive with each other? For sure. COVID adjustments. So we understand this has been a difficult time, right? And so obtaining observation hours, volunteer hours, that's been tricky. We also understand that sometimes getting letters of recommendations from physical therapists can be tricky. So we're being lenient with that, with the hopes that you will try to get as many as you can. And then as things start to open up, we might start to say, hey, things are a little bit more flexible now, and we'd like to have your PT references back, and 100 hours of observation. So, but we're being understanding with those if it's been a tricky time getting that. So.
All right, thank you so much. Why don't we move on to the next question? I know Dr. Thomas was touching upon this earlier, as well as Dr. O'Rourke, but a lot of students are often wondering what components of a competitive application, aside from GPA and test scores, are important with consideration for things like personal statements, letters of rec, etc. So why don't we start with Jeff this time, and then maybe the Western staff can jump in after.
Yeah, thank you. So we definitely use the letters of recommendation as a substantial point of the application, just because these are people in the field or people that have seen your work ethic and everything that are vouching for you. So you might not always get to determine what they say, but you get to choose who says it. So make sure you're choosing some good people, and we do look at those pretty heavily. But we love people that are involved. And so definitely it's not a requirement on the application, but include any and all extracurricular, volunteer work, service. If you've been part of a club for years, even as a member of the pre-PT club, we want to know about it. And because this just really tells us more about who you are before we would even get to interview you. Other very important things that we look for are a variety of experiences. If you get an opportunity to, observe PTs in a variety of different settings, that's super nice. I mean, it's not a deal breaker if you don't have it, but it is something that makes your application just kind of stand out a little bit more, because it shows that you have that drive to figure out which area of PT and ultimately OT in the future stands out to you. So those are just a few of the things in addition to the GPA and academic side of things.
Okay, I'll jump in next. Yeah, GPA is definitely not everything. It's a small percentage of what we look at with an applicant. So what we're looking for is rich life experience, and that they have a really good understanding of what the profession is all about, what occupational therapy is all about. And so again, I like how Jeff said that, that being involved in leadership positions, being involved in pre-OT or pre-PT club, like that says a lot. That's that life experience that we're looking for. So we put weight into a lot of weight into the interview, I have to say. Are you well spoken? Can you answer questions about the profession, and tell us a little bit about your life experiences? So a lot goes into that. And we do, again, also look at letters of recommendation as well. So kind of, again, holistic, look at everything.
I'll just jump in there with one more comment. I really recommend that everybody practice their interview skills. No matter how you've done with interviews in the past, even if you're very confident, you don't know what the physical therapy or occupational therapy interview will really look like. And if it's on Zoom or if it's in person, just practice that. Practice with different people, practice over and over, have them throw questions at you that you never thought of, or just anything that's different, so that you really can kind of get that dialed in. I've seen undergraduate students go from being kind of average at interviews to being exceptional just through practice. And there is a lot of weight in the interview once you get through meeting the minimum requirements on the application. So really be prepared for that. We enjoy seeing people do very well in their interviews. It's fun for us also. So we encourage you to practice that.
Awesome, thank you so much. We can go ahead and move on to the next question. So I believe we talked about this a bit in the previous questions, but what type of experiences do programs look for students to have on their application? Are there considerations for impacts due to COVID?
I can start. So for our programs, again, two of our DPT programs, We are not requiring any clinical experience for our California campus. We did require observation hours, but due to the pandemic, we are no longer requiring experience. And then, of course, this is our first year for our Oregon campus, and we were in a pandemic, so we do not require any clinical experience. But we are open to having that experience on the application. That's awesome. You're getting kind of that experience with a PT or shadowing, even virtually. You're kind of getting knowledge of the profession and kind of seeing if this is the route that you really want to take. So experience is recommended, again, not required this year, but it will definitely give you an idea of the profession, and that can possibly turn into a letter of recommendation, and a good letter of recommendation that's strong for a candidate. So we are looking, if somebody's looking to take a gap year that's not going to be looked down upon on the application, you can take that time to gain some experience, or when we're out of this pandemic and you can have some time to do some observation hours in person, definitely encourage that. We wouldn't look at a gap year and think negatively about the applicant. So again, that goes for both campuses, and I'll let Dr. Thomas talk to our OT program.
Yes, I think what's one of the things that we're looking for is leadership. Has the student been involved in volunteerism, community service? So when we talk about experience for, again, I'm speaking for the OTD program, it's not just shadowing an OT, but has this applicant been involved in student organizations? Has this applicant been involved in, volunteering at their church or volunteering within their community? Maybe I love the idea of a gap year. If that's going to give you some rich life experience, go for it, right? It's all about what's better preparing you to be a great clinician. And if being a great clinician is having some life experience behind you so you can relate to your patients a little bit more. And so that's what I would suggest is if you've got asked in an interview, so tell me about a challenge you've had in your life, and you're like, oh, I've never had a challenge. Oh, maybe you need to go out and find some challenges in life and live some life experiences. Don't get yourself into trouble. Don't go to like jail or anything, but go out and live a little bit, and maybe that might help.
Yeah, I want to speak to something there as well. These experiences, your observation hours, your experiences in the clinic, if that's work or volunteer or whatever, these are for you. Yeah, we want to, we're here at Army, we're confident that we're going to train you to be the best PT. So we don't need you to have all the experience in the world, but this is pretty much a requirement so that you know what you're getting yourself into, and you know that you can develop the passion for physical therapy. So what experiences I would say are whatever is going to help solidify this profession is something that you want to move forward to. I've already spoke to the other things that we like to see, like the leadership and all of that stuff, but yeah, observation hours is for you. It's this check off point of saying, it's like, I know this is what I want to do. You don't have to have it all figured out, but it's having that passion that physical therapy and ultimately occupational therapy is the route you want to do. Are gap years looked down upon? No. So we'll look at that. I would say majority of our class is coming straight from undergrad, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be that way. So if you feel personally that you need to get more experience, take that gap year, retake prereqs, whatever it is that you need to do to make sure the application is the best that it can be. But it's not necessary to take that gap year if you feel confident.
Great. Thank you so much for all your answers. Very insightful. Go out and look for challenges. That's what we should all do. All right, just a quick note for the students in the audience. We will be having an audience Q&A section coming up. So if you do have questions, make sure they're prepared for after this one. But for our panelists, what advice would you give to someone applying this upcoming cycle, or anything, if you have any burning tips you want to share with our UCLA students that you want to share that we haven't covered yet, please go ahead and share those as well.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick. I would just say, do your research. There's hundreds of PT programs that you can apply to. So make sure that you're connecting with individuals from the ones that you could really see yourself at. Learn as much as you can. You know, this is your life, your journey. We want to be able to be here to be informative as possible. So don't be shy to reach out to schools and to learn as much as you can about programs, and then narrow it down to the ones that you really could honestly see yourself doing. So, and then, yeah, if you're at a point where you have a good chunk of your application is ready and it's good to go, maybe you have a few prereqs pending, that's okay. Get your application in, because a good chunk of programs are going to be rolling. And so, yeah, you want to definitely kind of get in there when the times are hot, the hot times as well. So, but do your research and connect with the schools.
I'm going to kind of piggyback on that, on the whole do your research thing. And that is really choosing a career is huge, right? So definitely do your research and making sure you understand the profession that you're wanting to get into. You know, Google is a wonderful thing. So, you know, look up videos, get onto the, oh, this is another suggestion, get onto the American Occupational Therapy Association, get on the American Physical Therapy Association website. They have tons of resources in regards to videos and resources in regards to, because honestly, what we get is sometimes applicants that understand a small, narrow piece of the profession. They're like, oh, I want to work with kids. And so they understand this little narrow piece of OT. And it's like, when they start to realize how broad the profession is, like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't even know this existed. So do your research into what the profession is all about. And also don't hesitate to reach out to schools. I think this is a mistake I made when I was applying to OT schools. I was like, oh, I don't want to bother them. No, bother them. That's what they're paid to do. These admissions people that have posted their contact information in the chat box, cut and paste and save those, contact those people. That's what they're there for. We would rather you reach out than not. So yeah, that's my advice.
All right, thank you so much for your answers. If there's nothing else to add, we're gonna jump into this audience Q&A session. For all those members of the audience, if you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and type them up in the chat, and we can read it out for you. Or if you're feeling brave, you can go ahead and unmute your mic, maybe introduce yourself, and then address your question to the panelists.
Since the students don't currently have any questions, this is Stacy from the Career Center. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Health School Fair, which I know that you're signed up for, and share with students what are the benefits of attending the Health School Fair and what types of questions or talking points they could bring up during their one-on-one sessions with a representative.
Yeah, I think any admissions question or any question about the program would be great. I know a lot of us have Zoom fatigue, so I hope that there's a lot of attendees where we can kind of answer those questions and just be available. Definitely exceptions with, the continuing pandemic, and then, do's and don'ts, maybe just kind of like anything to do with the application process. We're here to help. For those one-on-ones. And then also if you don't get all of your questions met, or if you think about something right after they log off of the fair, they can feel free to have like a one-on-one advising or reach out to us. We'd be happy to speak with them. So.
Yeah, and I would just add timeline questions. Everybody's timeline is different, and whatever classes you have left to do, whatever. So, just kind of getting on the same page with how your timeline matches up with the school's timeline, and we can help with that. But also ask kind of what are the highlights of your program? Like what makes you special, or why do you think you're cool? You know, that kind of stuff. So, and that's a lot of good information for you to learn. So.
Great, and we have a couple questions coming into the chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it out. Hello, my name is Yejin Ban, and I am a pre-occupational therapy student. So I'm guessing this is addressed to Dr. Thomas or Jeff. What kind of applicants have stood out to you in the past?
All right, I'll answer that one. I'll give you an example of a good and a bad, right? Good, the bad, and ugly. I have had, and again, this is at a previous institution that I taught at. We had an applicant who had a 4.0 GPA, and so on paper looked fantastic. Interview day, number one, his dad brought him in. That was a big red flag. And now, granted, this guy was 22 years old. Dad brought him in. During the interview, didn't make any eye contact. Could barely answer the questions, mumbled a lot. We did not accept him. Good example of you can have the best GPA in the world, but still not get in. So that was the example of a bad applicant. Gosh, I've had other applicants where, gosh, so many, who had done all this wonderful work out in the community, volunteered within their church, volunteered out in the community. Maybe even I've had applicants who, had been out in the real world for a while, working for a while, and now they decided they wanted to change careers. Some of these students that come with this really rich experience ended up being the students that I remember the most as being so fantastic. And I say best, meaning they didn't have the highest GPA even while they were students. I say best, meaning they left and they were rocking OTs. So yeah, and in the end, that's what really matters, right? We want to make sure that, number one, you can handle the rigors of a graduate program. It's a doctoral program, so you need to be academically prepared for that. You need to be able to write. You need to be able to handle a full load. Our program is not online. It's on ground and it's full time. So you got to be prepared to not work. But we also, want that student that's well-rounded as well. Did I answer your question? Hopefully. Yeah, okay.
And I would just say I agree, just being as expansive with your experiences that you can, and just be yourself in the interview, be your best self, be professional, but be yourself, because we don't want to accept someone that we don't really know. We want to get to know you, who you are as well. So that's the kind of person that we look for, and everything else we've kind of talked about already.
Awesome, thank you so much. We also have a question from Leon in the chat. Leon had a question about the Casper test and was wondering if we can elaborate on that, about what it entails.
I can tell you a little bit about the Casper exam, and then Giselle can probably tell you how to sign up for it and some of those parts about it. But the Casper exam is a situational judgment exam. So you don't need to study for it. It's nothing that you sit down and get a book and memorize that book to take the exam. So this exam is really looking at trying to predict your clinical reasoning and your ability to manage different situations and what that looks like. There's certain dates that you have to sign up. I think Giselle can probably speak more to that. It's also, I'm not sure about the cost. I do think that they changed that. I bet Giselle can speak to that, but it's given several times per year. So it applies to both our California and Oregon campuses.
Just put the link in the chat if anybody would like to do some research on the Casper. But yes, as Dr. Rourke said, there are dates that you would need to take this test. You can apply, submit your PT-CAS application, and have this pending because, again, there's dates and they get filled up. I believe the last Casper test was on April 13th, and they will open up again for this upcoming application cycle. So I believe, I'm trying to find the cost, I believe it was around $60 and then maybe $10 for every additional institution that takes the Casper. But again, it's way more affordable than the GRE. And again, that review of the holistic review coming into play, this Casper assessment will be definitely taken into consideration, and it's one of the items that the admissions committee uses when they're reviewing the applicant. So again, there's different dates. You do want to submit it as soon as possible, sign up for the Casper, and then submit it as soon as possible. But again, you can submit your application before you have the Casper complete, and then just you'll upload the Casper with the same email. You'll choose the institution, which would be Western University of Health Sciences Physical Therapy, because there might be confusion because our DOs use this as well, our DO applicants. Just hit physical therapy and then we will connect it with your application. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask us, but I went ahead and placed the link in the chat. Again, do some research and just take a look, but it's not something that you would need to prepare for, that you can prepare for.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any other questions? Feel free to ask them. Our panelists are here to give you as much information as you need so you can prepare for your career. So yes, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask.
I just wanted to add, Jordan, that I don't know if anybody's a senior, if anybody's looking to apply this year, but our Oregon campus is still open for the first cohort. So the application deadline is approaching. It's April 30th, but we are still accepting applications, and that's a direct application because we're a new program. But in July, with the 2023 cohort, that is going to open in July and will be on PTCAS. So if anybody has questions, please, I included my email in the chat if you have any questions about that or how to apply through the direct application for this incoming class of July 2021. I'd be happy to speak with you.
All right, we have another question from Leanne regarding volunteering. So I know Dr. Thomas spoke a lot about volunteering and how it makes them stand out as a candidate. And they're asking about what type of volunteering would make them stand out the most.
I can't say that there's one volunteer setting or experience that stands out more than another. I think just leadership in itself and public service, and that says a lot in itself, right? I would say though, it would need to be some type of service or volunteer that involves other people, right? Versus like, well, I picked up trash off the side of the freeway. That's lovely, but we really want to see that you've worked with people. That's very broad and probably not what you want to hear, but yeah, that's I think volunteerism in itself is just wonderful. So.
Alrighty, oh, sorry, Jordan. If there are no more questions, we'd like to thank all of our panelists for coming today. We really appreciate all the information you could provide us. Yeah, if anyone has questions, please feel free to email all of them. They dropped their emails in the chat earlier.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.